This is immigration attorney Parviz Malakouti, and one topic that I see come up a lot is people talking about how nervous they are for their green card interviews, specifically for green card interviews in which the application is based on marriage. Why specifically marriage? Well, because USCIS suspects a much higher percentage of fraudulent cases in marriage-based cases than in other types of green card applications. And so as a result, they tend to hammer the applicants much more at the interview than other types of green card interviews. So you want to be very careful that when you're applying for a green card based on marriage, that you take the proper time to prepare for the interview. And when I say you take the proper time, I mean both the petitioner and the applicant. So the US citizen is also a big part of the interview as well. The US citizen or the legal permanent resident also has an application that's pending, which is the I-130. And then of course the applicant has the adjustment of status application pending as well. So both of the people in the married couple need to be prepared and take it very seriously, take the green card interview seriously. So what do you do to prepare? Well, that's a more complicated subject, and obviously if you're represented by an attorney, you want to go over the specific issues in your case. But as a general matter, there's a few things that every couple should do to prepare for a green card application interview. The first one is you need to know your relationship history, and you need to be on the same page about your relationship history. This might sound like a silly thing to say because somebody might say, oh yeah, of course we know, we have nothing to hide. Of course we're going to be on the same page. Not necessarily true, okay? I've had many applicants where when it comes time for us to prepare for their green card interview, they have a different recollection of how they met each other, okay? I've had a green card application couple where one says we met on Instagram, one says we met on a friend. And the reality is the story is a combination of the two, right? It wasn't fraudulent. It's just that they had a different thing came to mind for each of them when they were asked how they met one another. So you want to sit down with your spouse and you want to go over the relationship history, not to make things up, but to remind each other and get on the same page about how you met, where your first date was, the circumstances of each one of you meeting the other person's family for the first time, how there was a proposal, how long you've been dating for, when you met each other, basic facts of the relationship history. Okay, you want to go over those with your spouse, okay, to make sure you're on the same page. Secondly, the petitioner, the U.S. green card holder or the U.S. citizen needs to know all the information in their I-130. Okay, they should know that. The applicant should know all the information in the I-485. Okay, and be able to say that info by memory. Now, if you get a date a little bit off, or if you can't remember an exact address of a place that you lived 3-4 years ago, not a huge deal, okay, if you're just off on a tiny detail, small detail. But in general, you want to know those things, okay? So be prepared for that. The other thing is you want to make sure that you don't go in thinking that the adjudicator is your friend. They're not necessarily your friend. Actually, they're not your friend. Forget about necessarily. They're not. They could be friendly, they could be cordial and professional, and we hope that they are, okay? But their job is to work for USCIS and to determine whether your case is grantable or not. Okay, so don't get fooled in thinking that the person sitting across from you is your friend and then get too chatty and start talking about things that have nothing to do with the interview. Listen carefully to the questions, okay, understand the questions, and just answer what the question asks and no more. Stop once you've answered the question. The adjudicators are trained professionals. If they need more information from you, they'll ask follow-up questions and you answer the follow-up questions. Don't talk too much. Don't be too chatty. That's the bottom line, okay? The other thing is, if you have any aspects of your case that are weak or they look suspicious on the surface, even if it's not something that is necessarily suspicious, but it just might look bizarre on the surface, you want to go over those, especially with your attorney if you are being represented by an attorney. Okay, you want to go over those. You want to understand how you're going to respond to those and be prepared to respond to those so you're not caught, bumbling and blubbering and possibly saying something that's false and then having to correct yourself later and going through all that, okay? So that's it for my quick tips for preparing for a green card interview. There's a lot more that goes into this, of course, but as a basic overview, make sure that you go over your relationship history with one another and make sure that the U.S. petitioner is involved in the process, okay? Because the U.S. citizen is also part of the interview, the citizen or the green card holder, the one who's petitioning. So that's it. If you have any questions about your particular situation, you want to discuss them with me one-on-one, click on the link below, book a paid consultation. We can go over your details. And if you want to just hire somebody to handle this for you, click on that link below as well. We can go over the issues as well as the timeline and pricing and any other issues related to the case that there might be.